What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take NFL DFS podcast. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I will be talking about NFL Week 6 with a very special guest. He's one of the OGs of the Wise Take Nation. In fact, he's the triple OG. Not one, not two, but three of the Wise Take Nation. Mr. Patio Joe. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe. Ref, Joey, as we all know, is a big Dodger fan, and it is midnight, 12:04 a.m. Eastern, which means we are like right in the midst of this Dodger game. Joey, how you doing, brother?
Doing okay. You know, we were cruising along, and then like the eighth inning happened, and it's funny. Kershaw gives up the 2 home runs, and I'm like, CK's gonna call me in like any second. And literally a second later, it rang. And I'm like, God damn it! Kershaw gives up, 2 dongs after he strikes out Eden going in the 7th. They should have just left him. They should have kept him out of there. You know, there's a reason why somebody's a starter, and it's hard to just recreate that. I think they should have just taken him out after the 7th inning, put Maeda in. Obviously, you saw what he done. In hindsight's 2020 now, but you have him in for one batter, and then you bring in the other guys, and then you go and it'd be better. But you know what I'm saying? That's what happens, and it sucks as a Dodger fan to admit that like you just can't rely on Kershaw in the playoffs. You'll be okay, and you're gonna roll him out there. It's not like if they win tonight. It's not like, they're going to, not pitch him in game 2 or 3, you know what I'm saying? Right. But you just know that it's a wild ride when Kershaw's out there. Like, he's going to give up home runs. Every time I saw him this year when I went to the game, he gave up a home run. Mm-hmm. So, it's time now for the Dodgers to walk it off. That's all it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Is
it time for the Dodgers to jock you off?
Jock me off. That's right. Jock me off.
Good luck with that. Hopefully, it's funny too because my dad had asked me before. He was like, "Who I thought was going to win the game?" And I was like, I want to say the Dodgers. I'm just really, really worried about the fact that Kershaw's coming in because they tattooed him, quite frankly. And I know that's not normally a reason, but I was a little worried about when I heard Kershaw was going to be relieving. I was a little worried about that. I was like, I hope they're not quick to pull the trigger with Buehler to get Kershaw in there. Because Buehler is just he's just dealing right now. He's just dealing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But anyway. Mm-hmm. NFL Week 6 is upon us, Joe. We are approaching. It is currently Wednesday night, Thursday morning, whatever you want to call it. We have a lot of injury information, so this is going to be one of those slates where we're not really going to know for sure what we're doing until Saturday, Sunday, which is perfect time for those of you to try us out with a 5-day pass over at the Wise Take Nation. Joey and I both write articles. Joey writes the FanDuel breakdown. Paulie writes the DraftKings breakdown. I write my GPP core and notes article. Cam does the cheat sheets. And of course, we do a live stream, an updated live stream, Saturday around 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So if you haven't checked us out at wisestake.com, if you're new to the Wise Take Nation, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on iTunes. Subscribe, all that stuff. And anyway. Let's go ahead and rock with it. Let's talk about some Week 6, Joe. What are your overall thoughts for Week 6? It's kind of a strange-ish slate, right?
Yeah, well, we only have 10 games this week. So we have with 4 teams off, so that's 2 games off. And then we have a Thursday night game. We have a Sunday night game. We got a Monday night game. So that's 5? That's 5 games or so. So that's and then we have a London game, too. Mm-hmm. So that's the 6th game. So you only have 10 games, so it's a little bit easier, I think, to kind of know. It's kind of like in baseball, it's a 7 to 10 game slate. So what we really like, it's like our really like juicy spot, we like as a nation. So I'm with it. I like it. I think it's kind of though, there's some positions that are kind of tricky this week though. So and there's some games I think that people are going to want to go to. But, as is every week, there's got to be a game where it's going to be under the radar that can make us a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. No, I completely agree. 10 games, the first few weeks, the scores were just massively high, and a lot of that is because chalk hit. A lot of that is also because there were just so many games. And Now that there's only 10 games and we're missing some key players, like Christian McCaffrey has been the closest thing to that David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell era of a couple of years ago in terms of volume, touches, and all that. And he's not on the slate because he's doing the London thing. So it's interesting. Zeke's not getting the usage that he was with this new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. They're electing to pass a lot more. So it is different. Le'Veon Bell's on a different team. David Johnson is with the new offense, and he's questionable. So yeah, I agree with you. There doesn't seem to be, at least at the running back position, I don't know if it's as obvious as it has been in weeks past. Like McCaffrey went for 50. He was like, chalky 30-something%. That was like an obvious deal, right? I don't know if there's like a super obvious one this week. And I know that, we'll talk about it at running back. We got Zeke and Cook and some of these guys, but I'm curious to see what people end up on. With that said, Joe, let's talk about quarterbacks, my man. Let's talk about quarterbacks. You're looking at FanDuel. I'm looking at DraftKings. Who are some of the quarterbacks you got your eye on going into week 6?
Yeah, quarterback is I think my favorite position this week.
Yeah.
And it sucks because you can only play one.
Yeah.
Honestly, Mahomes, I'm kind of okay, he's 92. I haven't played him all year. I've maybe played him in GPPs here or there, whatever. But then you go right underneath that. You got Watson on the road. It may be a great game script if we think that the Chiefs are going to wake up with Tyreek back. That's a great game script. You got Lamar Jackson at home in what I think is going to be a closer game in Cincinnati-Baltimore. Everybody look at the history of the Cincinnati in Baltimore in the last 3-4 years. Every game has been great, and Will Smith just hit.
Almost had your moment, bro.
Almost
had your moment, bro.
It was close.
It was
close. Oh wow, it was so close. But yeah, so Lamar Jackson is I think is a pretty safe option. Definitely like him in cash. Matt Ryan, go right below him. Love Matt Ryan too. He's in a great spot in the dome in Arizona against the bad Arizona defense. I think that's an awesome spot too. And then obviously you could go to Russell Wilson, who I think is going to be who's fine too. He's only 8K. Kyler Murray is another one that you could play in cash. He's going to go against Atlanta. We saw what Watson did against this Atlanta D. So when he brings the rushing possibility too on top of the throwing thing. So I like that. And then if you want to go way down below, down on FanDuel at 7K, I like Kirk Cousins going up against one of the worst pass defenses at home against Philly. He's 7K. He's coming off of a great game. And to me, I just feel like they're not going to be able to run this week. We're going to talk about Dalvin Cook when we get to running backs, but they're going to clamp down. That's what Philly does. They're going to give it up on the air, I think, and Cousins is a great play. Everybody else, that's about as low as I'd go. I guess you could throw a thing at Minshew against New Orleans at home, but New Orleans defense is pretty good. So that's pretty much about as low as I would go. It's going to be Cousins.
It's interesting with Pat Mahomes. Curious to see if Tyreek Hill ends up coming back. We're still waiting to see. There's a possibility that they were hopeful that he would get a full practice in some time this week, which doesn't even mean even if he did it, he'd be back. But curious to see his status, Watkins' status. We did see Pringle emerge, and if Watkins and what's his name are both out, then aside from Kelsey, you've got cheap options that could help negate some of that expensive price tag you pay for Mahomes. He's definitely interesting against Houston. Houston's offense looked great against Atlanta, but at the end of the day, Atlanta was able to score also pretty easily. So I do like Mahomes in tournaments. Lamar Jackson, make a really good point on. Baltimore is overrated as a team. It doesn't mean that I don't think Lamar Jackson isn't a good quarterback. Doesn't mean I don't think they don't have weapons. It just means overall as a team, they are overrated. They haven't really been challenged a ton. And when they haven't really done a great job. Barely beating the Pittsburgh over the weekend. Losing. I know the score was close against Kansas City, but that was more of a backdoor thing. Kansas City was pretty comfortable in that game the whole time. And now they're playing the Bengals, a terrible defense, but yet an offense on the other side that does have the potential to keep up because I think Baltimore's defense sucks. They lost Mosley. They lost a lot of key guys, Suggs, and didn't really replace him with a whole ton. So I'm with you on Lamar Jackson, or at least in that game in general, just getting some fantasy relevant plays. Watson, Wilson, all these guys are fine. I think Matt Ryan right now, though, stands out to me the most against Arizona. We know the opportunity thing. We know Arizona, we can attack with receivers. I believe Patrick Peterson doesn't come back till next week. I think this is the last game he misses.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
So we got another week to take advantage of this. Correct. I think it's a great spot for Austin Hooper. We know how bad Arizona's been to tight ends. And, of course, you've got Julio Jones as just a monster. So I do like Matt Ryan this week. I'm with you on Cousins as far as the cheap options go. He's 5,200 on DraftKings, and I know exactly where you're coming from, right? It's a pass funnel defense. They've been very good against the run. He's going to have to throw, and that secondary is garbage. I know exactly what you're thinking. I'm with you on the cheap. But I think the guy, I'm not going to go through every quarterback, but the guy that I'm the most interested in tournaments is actually Jared Goff. And like that's a combination of like what I'm seeing a high total from Vegas, right? That's like a 50-point total. Everybody just saw the Niners on Monday Night Football, their pass rush just destroy Baker Mayfield. The difference is that the Rams have one of the better pass blocking offensive lines in the game. So I think they're going to do a little bit of a better job. They're not going to look as terrible. Plus the Rams are home. Jared Goff has played better at home so far in his career, fairly significantly. And now we just have word, which may hurt him, but Todd Gurley is apparently questionable, which we just found out. But he at 6,100 on DraftKings, he interests me. A guy with massive upside. He's got some great weapons. There are some injuries we have to look into. Brandon Cooks could be out. Gurley's now questionable. But considering that game at such a high total, I haven't heard a ton of people talk about Goff all that much. And I think it's because, like you said, quarterback is deep again.
I wouldn't. I mean, I'm just throwing out like, don't you think maybe that San Francisco is going to try and slow the game down? And run it with.
It is possible, but what it comes down to is the only way they can really slow the game down is going to be if they can successfully run the ball. Now, the San Francisco does have a very, very good run blocking offense, and they've got a couple of those players. Breida, in my opinion, is far and above better than those other backs they have. But regardless, if they're able to run the ball, then yes, they'll be able to slow it down. But if the Rams are able to stop the run and force them to throw, then I don't think that you can really slow a game down if both teams are just throwing a ton.
All right, now I'm going to say this. Now, I kind of agree with you because right as I was about to say that, I remember reading a tweet this week saying that the Niners just lost their offensive tackle for 4 to 6 weeks.
Right. Yes.
And they just lost their fullback use check for 4 to 6 weeks. Oof. So you got to think they're one of the only few teams that uses a fullback in the league still.
Right.
So that's got to hurt their run game.
Sure.
So maybe the narrative is going to be they're going to try and pass more.
They may have no choice
because they have been passing on this Rams defense.
Right, exactly.
So I could see Garoppolo having a good game and them not running the ball as much. The thing about Goff, I think on DK is that he's just right around that same prices of Ryan and Kyler Murray and Wilson. It's funny. That's why it's like I think that ownership and quarterback this week is going to be spread out. I like Ryan. It's interesting just because the pace, Atlanta is going to have to go more because Arizona's going to run the ball run the ball more, trying to play more plays. But we just saw Kyler Murray have his best rushing game of the year against Cincinnati, which makes me think that Lamar is going to run the ball even more on Sunday.
You mean Murray? Oh, no, Lamar. I see what you're saying. Yes, they're playing the Bengals as well. Yeah. I'm with you on Lamar.
It's like Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Matt Ryan, and Cash. And I think that's why like a guy like Russell Wilson is just going to go under the radar this week against the Browns that really didn't play very good, coming off of a short week. So I think Russell Wilson's is a really under the radar play this week.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. I mean, even for myself looking at it now, it's so much harder for me to play him right now, or even early in the week, over Matt Ryan and Kyler Murray and Jared Goff, all the guys he's surrounded by. So And then even above him, like he's real close to Watson and Jackson. So I'm with you. He will go under the radar. Also, like one thing I will say is this, man. Like Watson, like that game against Atlanta, like Will Fuller had something on that team. Like they had something there. There was a matchup, like they were going after him because they found a weakness in the Atlanta offense. So Kyler Murray, if they can locate that same weakness, depending on who's available, he could finally have that ceiling game. And that makes me like that game so much more because the Falcons are desperate, man. They're 1-4. They're sitting here 1-4, and they're playing Arizona, who is one of the worst teams in that division. I mean, in the NFC. The pressure's on, man. That's one of the reasons I like Ryan so much. It's like you guys can't lose here, and that game in general is definitely appealing, as some guys would say. Doing dirties. Let's go over to running backs, Joe. A little interesting this week. No McCaffrey, so there goes that cheat code. What are you looking at this week?
I mean, I just think that you have to look out on FanDuel. The obvious play, the go with the herd play, I think, in cash is going to be Alvin Kamara going against Jacksonville, who just got torched by McCaffrey. Kamara has the same skill set. Some people think he's better. They think they're probably going to feature him more. Being under 8K on FanDuel, I like it. And if you look at the guys above him, Zeke has only gotten 2x his value once this year, and it was 19 points. He's on the road against the Jets, who have a better defense than people give them credit for. And I think they'll probably, like you said, Kellen Moore came from the Boise State tree of passing the ball more and stuff like that. Like, you brought up a good point the other night on the pod about how, they're just passing the ball more. So Zeke has a different role this year. And, maybe they'll lean on him more in December and January when it's the playoff time, and that's when it really counts, and you do need to run the ball. But, and then you got Cook right below him that's you're going right into the teeth of Philly's best, defensive, unit. So to me, it's Kamara is going to be, the chalk. I believe you could go with Nick Chubb against Seattle. There's nothing wrong with that. They're not bad. Seattle defense is not what it used to be. But he's probably the guy up top. The guys in the mid-range, Fournette, you got to look at just from, a pure volume sense. He's going to get the carries. Ingram, to me, is a GPP play. He's not involved in the passing game. And on FanDuel, he's so touchdown reliant. So if he doesn't get the touchdowns, he's not going to get you what you need. I don't mind Chris Carson. The two guys that we got to be looking at, they're pretty much priced together, is Todd Gurley and David Johnson. They're both questionable. I feel like if there was one of the two that are less likely to play, right now it's going to be Gurley. I think DJ is going to play. If he does play, he's going to be he's going to be a great play. Todd Gurley, I think, is a little bit more on the questionable side. So if either of those guys are out, that's really going to bump up Malcolm Brown or Chase Edmonds into the chalk area because, oh shit. Because you're going to have to, you're going to have to, I'm sorry, you just gave up a double. Joe Kelly just gave up a double. We're losing the game. So anyways, you're going to have to, you'll be able to they'll have so much value with Brown or with Edmonds that you'll be able to pay up somewhere else. So they'll be chalk. But I like Le'Veon Bell too, just because he's another volume play. Darnold's back, 6,800. And then, I could still talk about other guys, but Derrick Henry's in a great spot too against Denver, who can't really stop very many people. And then if I really go down below, I think Carlos Hyde, you got to take a look at also, just because they're just, KC just can't stop the run against anybody. And then a flyer on Kenyon Drake, maybe in that Washington-Miami game.
I agree with a lot of that, dude. As far as Zeke, I think Zeke would probably be the guy that maybe I'd be a little more likely to consider in cash, just because I think the herd will do it. Dalvin Cook is the only one that's getting the right usage, right? The issue, of course, is the matchup there. I don't mind Cook. I'm just worried about ceiling. Even if Cook has a good game, maybe he doesn't hit his ceiling. When he played the Bears, he still had a decent game, but it was only like a 19, I think, or something like that. It wasn't like the 30 burgers that he's dropping every other week. So I think I'm not too crazy. David Johnson is the most attractive to me. I'm fine with Kamara, but David Johnson, if he plays, would be the most attractive to me. And that's more of like a pass catching role thing in my head. Atlanta really hasn't been all that bad against the running backs this year. It's been receivers who've been really burning them. I think my favorite running back on DraftKings specifically right now is Le'Veon Bell. And number one, it's a volume thing. Like I know, with Darnold back, you would imagine they're gonna spread the ball out a little bit more. They're actually gonna be efficient. I think Darnold's gonna help their offensive line a little bit better. He makes a big difference. Like I hear so many people talking about the Jets and how bad they are, and yeah, they're not a great team. And even if Darnold didn't get mono, I don't necessarily think they would have been a great team. But I do think that they would have been a lot better than what they look like now. It wouldn't have been like the laughing stock of the league. With that said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets did come out here and stun Dallas. Just looking even at the rankings, the Jets defense is 10th overall in DVOA, 11th against the run, 13th against the pass. So when you have an offense that just can't get going, sure, it makes sense. You're gonna have a problem. Shit's gonna happen, and the defense is gonna be constantly put in bad situations. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys are 19th in DVOA, 20th against the rush, 17th against the pass. For those that don't understand what DVOA means, basically it's a stat that measures a team's efficiency by comparing success on every single play to a league average based on situation and opponent. So it's just basically a way to measure defensive efficiency, courtesy of Football Outsiders. Awesome website. But so yeah, Le'Veon Bell on DraftKings because of the volume is one of my favorite tournament plays. I'm not saying I like the idea in cash. I think I play Zeke over him in cash, but in tournaments, I do like Bell. It's really that whole mid-tier that I like the most. I like him. I like Fournette. The usage he's getting is pretty wild. They're at home. Ingram. I like Ingram a lot this week. I do think that what stops me from going too heavy on Ingram is the fact that Lamar Jackson could easily be the one to have that kind of game, and I am not confident that Ingram is one of those running backs that's going to often correlate well with his quarterback and a receiver. So to me, if you're exploiting the run game like we had last year, that's one thing. But this year, clearly they're trying to have Lamar Jackson be more of a pocket passing mobile, not even pocket passing, just more of a throwing quarterback as well. So I like Ingram a lot. We like home favorites, running backs that correlates well. So this whole mid-tier here, man, like Todd Gurley, I thought was interesting on DraftKings from a pass perspective. He played in 70-something% of the snaps. And look what happened. He's got an injury coming. So maybe that might be it, man. What do you do? What do you do with that if you're the Rams, dude? Like, you finally gave him a game. You finally gave him a game and pushed him, and now he's got an injury tag popping up. So. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Holy shit. Oh, man, Joe.
They're thinking that I left the chat too, guys. I'm still here. I see it all. Hey, baseball's not over. Nat's got the worst bullpen in the game. We'll see, but I would bring in Scherzer here. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying with all these running backs. Aaron Jones just tore up the Dallas Cowboys last week. So, like, you got to think that Bell is going to, definitely, be featured this week at 6,800. I think he's a great pivot off of David Johnson, and to say that he's cash viable, it's a little risky.
It's a stretch,
little risky,
yeah.
but I wouldn't mind it either.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
I hear you. I guess because of his price.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. I'd probably go with Zeke or something in cash, but I love Le'Veon in tournaments.
What's his price? Wait a minute. His price is so different though. They're $2,100 different on DraftKings, so it's not. You're not really comparing Zeke.
No,
really.
Of course not. No, but
I think you're comparing like Bell to like Ingram and like Henry. You kind of be like, how does he compare to that in terms of cash? You know what I mean?
I agree, except for one thing. Like, to me, I will not play opposing running backs from the same game in cash. Like that's negative correlation. So if I was playing Bell, I wouldn't be playing Zeke. You know what I'm saying? So like that's what I mean when I say it. If I'm playing, just for the fact that I would play Bell in cash, automatically disqualifies Bell for me in cash. Like that's how I meant it, not like a direct price correlation. Obviously, a huge price difference there. Doing dirty,
But would you play? I mean, are you playing Zeke in cash though on on Sunday? I don't know.
Yet. I don't know yet. Right? Like, I don't know yet. I think that's what the public may end up doing because Cook isn't in a great spot. Kamara, maybe it's Kamara. I agree with you, or maybe it's both of those guys. DJ for sure. If DJ plays, he's gonna be one of them, though, right? Like, we should expect his ownership to be pretty fucking high. He's cheaper than those guys. He's in on paper what looks like a pretty good matchup. I think that would make sense. What you said that was interesting is Carlos Hyde, right? Like, Kansas City has a serious problem against the run. They've got a really, really bad issue with this. And I know Hyde's a guy that, like, we don't look at as a ceiling kind of player, and I'm still concerned about that. I still think, as of right now, most of my builds will be running backs in that 6K range. But it's tempting, dude. He's cheap. And, Kansas City's been really, really bad against the run. They just can't stop it. It's almost like they're not even trying to stop it. They would rather just, like, get you in the red zone where you can't where your playbook is limited and just, like, play you that way and just hope they can outscore you. That seems to be their strategy to a degree. A very interesting call. And
let me give you somebody.
Who's that?
Tevin Coleman at 5K on FanDuel.
Dude, how much is Breida?
Breida's more.
Yeah. Breida is just so much better. He's such a better player. But, like, all three of those running backs played in, like, 30-something% of the snaps. It was, like, perfectly split almost between all three of them. Breida got, like, slightly more, but it was all, like, 34, 32, 33. It was all right there. That's a pain in the dick. Like, it's just, like, there's no other way to put that. That sucks, because they could run the ball really well, and that just sucks that they, do that. And to me, Breida is so, like, clearly more talented. I understand he's fragile, but I don't know. That situation's annoying. You know what else you said? I actually, like, the outline of my article, I'm like hovering on the idea of Kenyon Drake, on Drake, like, because this is the only game where, like, they have a shot. Like, I think Washington's a better team than them, I think. But, like, you look at them, you're like, yo, they got a shot. They're at home playing another bad team.
They've had 2 weeks to prepare.
Right? Coming off the bye. Like, if the Kenyon Drake was going to smash this week, this would be the week. Right? And he's dirt cheap. Like, those are interesting. I still like that mid-tier Ingram, Fournette, Bell. I still like that level the best right now. But, like, obviously there's guys high and low that we're going to have to consider stronger as we go into the week. Doing 30s, dropping 7s. Wide receivers, Joe.
Wide receiver. This is, another week. It's kind of tricky at wide receiver this week. I wrote down, about 9 names. Let's start up at the top. I think I'm not scared to go back to Julio Jones.
Yes.
I think in cash, I think that the optimal play is going to be Hooper. So Julio will be more of a GPP play just because I don't like to play both in cash. So, Julio, but if you want to play Julio in cash, that's fine. I played him last week. He's got a great matchup. No Patrick Peterson again for another week. I like that. If you wanted to go back to D-Hop, nobody's going to blame you. He could still torch this Kansas City defense for sure. Michael Thomas is fine, but I probably just won't go there. Cooper Kupp, that's probably like the cash lock right now. I think if you wanted to go, start off, just lock in Kupp at 7,800. He's just been too involved in the offense. He should be above 8K. He's been over 3X in 3 of his 5 games this year, including the past 3. So I like Cooper Kupp. Probably my top receiver right now ahead of Julio when it comes to cash games. Another guy I like right below him at 7,200 is Adam Thielen. We know that he torches bad secondaries. We have a bad secondary. If you're going to play Cousins in cash, I would probably pair him with Thielen. We saw him go off last week. I like him. There's nothing wrong with that. Going down a little bit low before Tyler Boyd at 6,400. He is mispriced, in my opinion. What's his price on DraftKings? Do you know?
Who's that?
Tyler Boyd.
Boyd.
He's 6,300.
Yeah.
So he's priced up more on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel.
Well, how much did you say it was?
Coming off of 20. He's 6,400 on FanDuel.
Wow, yeah.
So he's pretty cheap. He's coming off a game where he got 23 points. He's in a positive game script game. He's facing a team that just gave up like over 100 yards to Juju, and then the week before they gave up 167 yards to Landry. They're just getting torched in the slot.
Right.
So Tyler Boyd, amazing play. Two guys right below him, Terry McLaurin and Tyler Lockett. Great plays also, especially if Keenum's it's a starter back and McLaurin's healthy now. You got to like that pairing, or definitely at least McLaurin. I don't think you necessarily need him. Okay, it's not like let's not go crazy. I don't think you need him, but he's definitely been productive when Keenum's been in there. Michael Gallup has just been. He's gotten 14, 8, and 7 targets the 3 games that he's played this year, and he's been over 100 yards in 2 of the 3. He's 6,100. I think he's mispriced. And then a couple guys in the value. You got to like, Christian Kirk, if he's back. Larry Fitzgerald is probably another just chalky cash game play going up against that terrible Atlanta secondary. And then probably my favorite, I don't know if he'll go under the radar or not. I don't know how popular he'll be. But D.D. Westbrook at 5,400. He's going up against my favorite cornerback to pick on in P.J. Williams. And I just think he's a great play. Everybody's going to go to DJ Chark, which he's been great. But I think Westbrook has got the better matchup if he's going to be in the slot. And don't forget about Calvin Ridley. He had a great week last week, and they did not raise his price at all. He's still only 5,500.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about that Jacksonville situation, because obviously everybody is going crazy, and rightfully so, over DJ Chark. But, who just smashed. But Westbrook also got 11 targets, and, not a ton of people talking about him. He had 82 yards. Just didn't get in the end zone. So that could easily, in this particular situation, like you said, if he's playing out of the slot with P.J. Williams' defense, that could easily be him this week. And shout out to Minshew, bro. He's looked good, man. Shout out to Minshew. Doing dirt. Doing dirt. Starting off with Julio Jones, like you said, he's questionable now, which we found out today. I think he'll play. I think it's just maintenance. But awesome spot for him. Love Julio. One of my favorite stacks is going in tournaments will be Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Austin Hooper. I'll have a lot of that. Michael Thomas can just he could suck a fat one. He could suck on D's. Last week just destroyed my life. I was so heavy on Thielen. I thought I got the nut receiver, and he went out there and dropped that dirty burger on me, and it just did not taste good. But his price is up against Jacksonville. Maybe if they were home, I consider, but no, not doing it. D-Hop, 7,400, sure, I can get down on that. Cooper Kupp, like you said, bro, especially on DraftKings, where you're rewarded more for volume, Cooper Kupp is getting a ridiculous amount of volume. We're not seeing receiver. Even Hopkins is not getting these kind of targets. 12, 15, and 17 targets over his last 3. Every game this year, except for one, he's had double-digit targets, and the one he didn't, he still had 9 targets. He's just going for over 100 yards in every game but one this year. He's just a savage. He's just a complete savage. So I like Goff. I like Kupp. I like that connection. I'm going to play Odell Beckham in tournaments, Joe. Odell Beckham is 6,800 on DraftKings. 6,800 for Odell. He's playing a Seattle defense that is nowhere near, in my opinion anyway, as good as that San Francisco defense, or at least from a pass rush perspective. I understand they have Clowney, whatever the case is, but they don't have a pass rush quite like San Francisco's. And Baker's home. I expect him to have a little bit of a bounce back. I know that, what's it called? Seattle has looked decent against the pass. They've actually only allowed the 17th most fantasy points to wide receivers, but they are rated 19th in DVOA against the pass and 16th against the run. Overall, 22nd. So I don't think they're that good of a defense. I will be playing Odell Beckham. Love Adam Thielen. He came through for us last week. Awesome spot for him again. Maybe we sneak some Diggs exposure if you're heavy on Thielen, because I know it's trending badly for Diggs. He's running less and less routes each week. He still ran like 80% or something like that last, but it's getting less and less. But at the end of the day, it's Philly, a team with a terrible secondary. I don't hate the idea of a triple stack with Diggs and Thielen if you're playing Kirk Cousins. But Thielen is obviously the preferred option. I agree. I love Larry Fitzgerald this week. Not thrilled with the price, but for the role they're in, for the matchup they're in, do like the situation. There's obviously a lot to like. Auden Tate, I feel fine going back to. Again, Joe, kind of like you said, it sounds to me like you also believe that Cincinnati is going to show some fight in this game. I mean, let's be real. Cincinnati stopping Baltimore is unlikely, but it is likely that they keep up pace offensively. So I am looking at Auden Tate again. I'm assuming that with the price increase, people will back away. He still got 6 targets. It was an inefficient game. Dalton didn't even do that great. He still got some targets, so I'm okay with it. And then, of course, Joe, the injuries, man, they can open up a lot. Between that, as far as value goes, between the Kansas City situation, we might get Pringle, that dude that Mahomes just made famous on Monday. He's like 3,600 or 3,500 on DraftKings. That's if injuries for many. Even if not, you've got the Miami receivers who are probably in play this week. Some of these guys with Rosen quarterbacking.
Preston Williams. You could go with Devontae Parker.
Right.
Albert Wilson came back, I think, the week right before the bye and got a couple of targets. I think he's healthy again and he's coming back this week.
Okay, yeah.
And if you remember, before he got hurt, he had like 4 targets in like the first 6 throws.
Yeah.
But that was when Fitz was the quarterback, though. So
that is true.
You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know. But he's 4,900 on FanDuel. So, I mean, I guess if you want to have a deep sleeper, that you could do that.
Yeah,
but I guess people are going to go to Preston Williams or Devontae Parker. Seems like Parker's good for like 3 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown.
Yes.
Or something like that the last few weeks. So, wide receiver is going to be a little tricky this week, I think. Yeah. Like, we're not talking about Amari Cooper who just blew up, but I think that, Tyler Lockett is in a great spot too. You could also, Sanu has produced when he's healthy.
This is
a lot of ways to go.
For me, this is the first week where I've actually wanted to pay up for receivers. Like, I like the top tier so much, and it's deep. There's plenty of guys. I mean, talk about value. The Jets receivers are all extremely cheap, and they're in a much better situation at home with Darnold back. Like Robbie Anderson, Crowder, who got peppered with targets in the first game. Like, they become more viable. So, like, there are options down there. We talked about the Miami stuff, the Jets, all these things. But I want to play like Julio Jones and Thielen and Odell Beckham. I want to play those guys so bad. And part of that is because I don't love the idea of spending up at running back. So I feel like I'm going to have some money to work with some of those like upper mid-range guys. But it's deep, but I'm like really strongly attracted to the top. And I'm curious if that's what everybody else is doing, or, is that like a contrarian take of mine? Like, what do you think? Do you think people are likely to pay up at running back and thus be forced to pick one receiver and do like the whole usual high-low middle? One receiver we didn't talk about either is Robert Woods. Which, if Cooks is out, man, on DraftKings, he's only 5,600. And, I know that he's been the inconsistent one of the bunch, but 9 targets against Seattle, 15 against Tampa, 8 against Cleveland. Like, the volume's there. And if Cooks is out, especially if Gurley's out, it could really be there. 5,600 on DraftKings. I do like him as a part of that. Golf.
What about, what about Will Fuller this week? I mean,
he's just probably, bro. He's $6K now, man. Like, I think it's I think they saw something in that defense that they knew they could beat. Like I went and watched the highlights, and like it was on. They would put Fuller in the slot, and anything that involved him running out, whether it was an out, whether it was a flag route, anything that involved him starting in the middle of the field and cutting, breaking out, they were just looking for it, automatically just looking for it, and he had it pretty much every time if Watson made the throw. So it was like, I think they saw something, and that does like make you wonder. We have to take a look at this Cardinals offense, because I'm sure they saw the same thing, and they're looking to exploit the same thing. It's just a matter of which receiver they're going to use to do that. But I don't know. How much is Will Fuller on FanDuel?
He's 6,600.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know. I just paid 4,500 for this dude. He went for 50. Like, I feel like at 6K, he's got to go for like 70 to like me. I'm spoiled now, Joe. Spoiled after 1 week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure.
Let's go over to tight ends, Joe. What are you looking at?
Tight ends, I think the cash game tight end is going to be Austin Hooper at 6,400, going up against the worst team in the league against tight ends. He's been pretty consistent too. So I think that's where the public's going to go. But I think it could be a week where you could pay up a little bit more at tight end, go for like Kittle at 6,500 or Ertz 6,600 and Kelsey up top at 7,500. You can always go to him. Down below, there's only one guy I think getting more of a GPP option and such, but it's and it looks like the Nats won. Congrats to them.
Oh, man.
It's a lot of people I don't think are going to go to him, but it's Delaney Walker. And everybody is saying, like, don't do it. He's been terrible. But they're like, everybody's like, oh, well, Denver's been good against the tight end this year. And I went back and I looked at Denver's schedule and I was like, week 1, they played the Raiders and Waller did well that week. That was the one tight end that beat him. Week 2, they played the Bears, who didn't have a tight end. Week 3 was Jimmy Graham, who didn't do much, but he's just not a shell of himself. Week 4 and week 5, they played the Jags and the Chargers, who don't have tight ends. So it's like the only times that they've played a team that's had like a good tight end, has been, when as when they played Waller and Waller's done, did well against them. So at 5,200, I think he makes a decent play. The tight end has just been a shit show all year. So it doesn't, it's hard. It's really, really hard to kind of like pinpoint. So it's like, you kind of just like.
It always looks deep, right? It always looks deep. I feel like every week I'm like, this is the week you can play a tight end in the flex. And on DraftKings, Joe, because of the pricing and the way the DraftKings structure works, like PPR style, I am in that situation again. Travis Kelce at 7K. I feel like nobody's going to play him. If Watkins and other dude are out, Tyreek Hill are out, okay, Dingle McCringleberry and these other guys, they're going to get some looks too. But Travis Kelce is also going to get looks, and it's also going to be a bigger part of the offense if going into the game they already know that they're missing those guys. If they game plan that way, they're going to get the ball to Kelce. Zach Ertz is only 5,400 against Minnesota. If we talked about liking that game, at least the Minnesota side, bring back options, Zach Ertz sounds pretty damn good. George Kittle, great Kittle. 5,200 against the Rams. I had mentioned I like the Rams offense. Awesome bring back candidate. Finally had a good game. Austin Hooper is 5K, but he's in a nut matchup against one of the worst teams. And Hooper's been getting the volume. Ryan is utilizing him a lot. So like that whole range alone. And like that's why, Joe, like you mentioned Delaney Walker. Anybody, if you pay down at all at tight end, I think your build is going to be naturally contrarian. Because to me, I think the ownership is going to hover from around like maybe Mark Andrews all the way up to
like Disley too. I think Disley's in a decent spot against Cleveland. Yeah. They're not very good against the tight end. Yeah. I also think that if Brandon Cooks is out, Gerald Everett was involved in offense a week ago. So
11 targets against Seattle, 8 targets against Tampa, Joe. That's a great point. Like it's 2 weeks in a row he's getting this volume.
Yeah, so I feel like he'll get decent, and like when you have Ricky Seals-Jones at 5,500, like look, I ain't paying that. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel like in cash, it's like people are just gonna look at all those options, and that's why Hooper is like kind of like below the top 3 guys. He's right there, and he's in a nut spot. So in cash, I think it's going to be Hooper, and you'll just be contrarian, I think, a little bit if you just go for any other guy. Kittle, Ertz, Kelsey. I think we're going to be playing Kittle a lot in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The regression monster's coming. But I do think, like, you make a great point with Everett, Delaney Walker, some of these guys I expect to, like Walker, I expect things to turn around. He's one of Mariota's favorite targets. I think that they've been running the ball a lot. They've been successful, but the minute that stops working, I think we see Delaney Walker more involved. And Everett, man, 3,600. He's got to draw some type of attention if the injuries exist. 8 targets and 11 targets. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. I was told that once before, and I believe it. So, moving on to defenses, Joe. What are you looking at?
Defense is kind of crazy this week. I think the public is going to go to to Dallas, because of what the Jets did. But we have Sam Darnold is back, and I just think it's going to be a decent a little bit better spot for them. And then the other people are going to go, is Baltimore. And first of all, everybody look at Baltimore's like, game logs. You know what I'm saying? And look what they've done. And they're priced at 5K. They have no reason to be priced at 5K. Last, 4 or 5 times at Baltimore. Last year it was 21-24, Ravens won. Year before that it was 31-27, the Bengals won. The year before that it was 19-14, and then it was 28-24, 23-16. Like, my point is that the Bengals show up. We've been saying it all game. Now maybe we're gonna put our foot in our mouth, CK, come Sunday.
I know.
But I just think that like the Ravens are just like, I think it's gonna be a little bit better game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a little bit more competitive, and maybe it's a little bit, that's why maybe I like Lamar better, because he's going to have to produce more. He's going to have to, be more essential, and it's going to be a closer game than everybody thinks. And I'm not usually on the Bengals that much. They're not a very good team. But that's why I'm not really on their defense. I could be wrong, but they've been getting gashed. So then that's what makes defense really weird this week, because Tennessee and against Denver was coming off a win. I'm not going to do that. The other side, you're not going to really do that. You could go to Washington or Miami, just thinking something like that will happen. Miami's pretty decent, at home. They kind of play a little bit better. So I don't mind Minnesota against Philly. But I know there's a defense you're going to talk about, you love on DraftKings, and I'll throw it to you after that. But it's like the Jets. At 3,100, you might just like, what? Hopefully they just don't get you a 0, and you put them in there, and they can get a couple sacks, especially if Tyron Smith is out again. They might get a couple more sacks and such like that. Who knows? They're not a $3,100 defense just because they're going up against the Cowboys. It's very, it's all public perception. It's not right. You know what I mean? And then I guess, if you wanted to go with the narrative that the Niners defense is for real, they're 3,500. And if Gurley doesn't play, that makes Goff one-dimensional. We know that Goff can put up he throws interceptions. So they might throw a lot, but Goff's going to give you a few. If you would have played the Tampa defense a couple weeks ago, they gave up 50 points or almost 50 points, but they still scored double digits that week too. So the Niners at 3,500 isn't bad.
Yeah, man, defense is weird this week. I don't want the Cowboys. I'm nervous. I'm worried that their defense may not be as good as previously thought. Now, I'm not saying that their defense is bad. They've got a very good linebacker core. I don't think they're necessarily bad, but I do think that maybe they're being a little overrated, not because of them, but because of how bad the Jets have looked through the first 4 weeks. And so I think I'd pass. The Ravens I could bite it on. I do agree with you. I think this game is more competitive, but I do like Mark Ingram at the same time, so there's a little bit of correlation. So I'd be more likely to play the Ravens, I think, than the Cowboys, but don't feel great about that either. I don't feel great about any of these defenses, and that makes me, like you said, go down to the Jets. The Jets are 1,500 on DraftKings, literally 1,500. I'm basically going to be able to play an extra stud. I talked about wanting those expensive receivers. I talked about not needing a ton of money at running back to spend for the studs. And that's, if I play the Jets, I'll be able to get the best of both worlds. I mean, look at these scores for the Jets. Week 1, 18 against Buffalo, 5 against Cleveland, 16 against the Patriots. Granted, they did have 2 defensive touchdowns, 1 special teams touchdown, and 1 pick six that came when they pulled Brady for no reason. 4 against the Eagles. They lost 31-6 against the Eagles. They still got you a 4. You know what I'm saying? They still got you a 4. And they gave up 31 points to the Eagles. They lost 31-6. I'm with you, man. I think that at 1,500, I'll take it, even if they get me a 5. I paid 1,500, and if you paid 4,300 for Dallas, I have I have so much more money to work with than you that there's a good chance that I could probably make up the difference somewhere else at receiver when you're playing some $3,500 hand job, and I got some an extra 6'8" Odell Beckham type stud. You know what I mean? I like it. I don't love the defense this week, and I think the Jets at 1,500 are it's a mistake. I think, like you said, public perception. Everybody's talking about the Jets, and yeah, the Jets are not a great team, but they're not the worst team in the league. They're not the Miami Dolphins. When they don't have their quarterback and they're using practice squad quarterbacks, sure, they're the Miami Dolphins basically. but you have a good, solid, even a decent quarterback, and they're not nearly as bad as they've demonstrated. And the numbers indicate that looking at DVOA stats and everything else. So doing dirty, dropping sevens. Yeah, I'm with it. So anyway, Joe, this was cool. Little CK Patio Joe action, man. Paulie D. I'm hopefully he just fell asleep because he had a long week. But yeah, man, this was fun. I will say this: those of you that are watching, I'm gonna get this stuff out the way, Joe. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up, that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell. Likes go a long way, guys. We want to get as many likes as possible. So like this, tell your friends to like this, tell your mom to like this, your pops to like this, tell everybody to like this, and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on iTunes, the audio version, you're missing out on these two beautiful faces. I sympathize with you. But be a good sport and subscribe on iTunes and Podbean and all that good stuff. Don't forget to check us out at whitestick.com. We still offer all NFL content. NBA is around the corner. We have an NBA sale still going on for the season pass. You can save $50 on the season pass. Get NBA DFS completely covered for $99.99 after you use promo code EarlyOwlNBA19. However, this deal expires October 16th, so you got a few days. I think another like 5 days or so to take advantage of this. October 16th deal goes away, so take advantage. We're doing preseason content at Whitestick, by the way. Had a pretty good day for the nation. I wrote the preseason article. We did well, yada, yada, yada. Go check us out, whitestick.com. Plug. Joe, we didn't do the Whitestick Nation podcast this week. We're putting that on hold for a second, but we do want to give out our bets, man, because it's fun, bro. It's fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to put out our 3 best bets going into this week. It could be from any game, Thursday game, Monday game, whatever you want. We're going to put out our 3 best bets going into this week. What do you got, Joe?
Are we going to go back and forth, or do we want to?
We can go back and forth if you want. It's up to you. If you got all 3 of them, just drop them.
All right, I'm going to go the over in the Atlanta-Arizona game.
Okay.
I like that. I like the Saints getting a point. I'm seeing Jacksonville -1.
Yeah, right? That was some reverse line movement. It opened up as a pick'em, and Jacksonville is now -1.
Yeah, I'm getting the Saints. I'm taking the Saints winning that game outright. And then I'm going to take Cincinnati and the points, 11.
Boom.
I'm taking the 11.5 or 11.5 points. Like we've been talking about it. We have to put our foot down on it, right?
Doing dirties, Joe. Doing dirties.
What do you think about those? I mean, you're more of the lines guy than I am.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Joe. Like when I'm reading from the Vegas side, that game's starting to worry me a little bit. So check this out. First of all, the line opened up at 10.5, right? It's up to 12.
It's going up.
It's up to 12, but 60% of the bets are coming in on the Bengals plus the points. And so that means that the smart money seems to be on the Baltimore Ravens. 63% of the bets are also on the under in this game, which is interesting because the total is 47.5. So the way I would read this normally, if I'm handicapping this game, is that the smart money's on Baltimore. The public is on a public dog is never usually good, Joe. A public dog is normally a scary thing. So the signs point to this game being high scoring and the Ravens covering that spread, which makes me think. I mean, it's good for Mark Ingram shares, but it makes me think, and it's also good for Lamar. We could see another we could end up seeing another onslaught. I'm with you, and because I think the Bengals aren't bad offensively, or that bad offensively, I do think that this game goes over the total. I think it's going to be a high scoring game regardless, but we'll have to see how Baltimore handles this. But just reading Vegas, reading the line movement, would be my interpretation of this line right now as of Thursday. So which could totally change come Sunday. Doing dirty 7-7s. I think for me, I'm gonna go with the Jets #1. That's one of my favorite bets of the week. Again, similar situation. Vegas is playing off perception. The Jets are home. They're over a touchdown underdog against a Dallas team that for some reason refuses to run the ball. They'd be a lot better if they just ran the ball. I can't tell you how many times against the Packers they fell behind. I understand, but they didn't have to panic and start passing. They would run the ball with Zeke on first down, get 4 or 5 yards, and then just pass it the next play. It would be incomplete. And then they have no choice but to pass on third down because it's third and kind of medium and schmedium. Anyway, Jets plus the points. It was 8.5 before Darnold was in. It's 7.5 now. I'll still take the 7.5. This is like the biggest fish play on the board, but I can't help myself. I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Falcons. They're 4-1. They're so desperate. Their defense is god awful. So I really can't believe. I should just be on the over. The over. Forget it. Forget the Atlanta. I'm with you, Joe. Let's go on the over, man. I can't do it. I can't. Atlanta's defense is so bad. I just can't get myself to back them. And knowing that 80% of the bets are coming in, I feel like it's too much of a fish. But I do like the over with you. I think both these defenses just suck the fat one. And then finally, I'll go with the Rams, man. I think the Rams give the Niners their first loss. I know it's a little bit of a risk with some of the injuries out there, but the line opened up -3. It's gone up to 3.5. That's a key number right there. It could be because of the San Francisco injuries, but the Rams also have some injuries on their own. So before I bet that, I would wait to see if they adjust with the Gurley news, Cooks news, all that kind of stuff, and see if I get some extra value. But doing dirty is dropping 7s. Joe, this was fun, bro.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's good to get back just me and you.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Been a while, man. Yeah, old school status, OG status.
And Paulie's just enjoying the Yankees moving on to the next round.
Man. He's already through. He didn't have to sweat it with you. He's already through. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you just
gotta love it.
Dodgers. It doesn't surprise me. I feel like that they were just waiting, for everything to just be handed to them, and they're waiting for the home run all game. They don't want to, manufacture runs. Bellinger leads off the one inning with a single, and he steals second base, and then Strasburg proceeds to strike out the next 3 guys.
Yeah.
At some point, why don't we go back to old school baseball and you bun them over?
That's it.
How about that?
Bun them.
You know what I mean?
Bun them.
You know what I'm saying? Like football.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Like you don't. To me, I feel like the Dodgers were just relying on the home run, and it bit them in the end. And congrats to the Nationals. And that now we can just concentrate more on football. Baseball season's over. I'm sure the playoffs are going to be good the rest of the series. So
yeah,
it's good.
I'll say this, Joe. Sorry for the Dodger fans out there. Sorry for you. As far as the Nationals, I am a Met fan, so they can go fuck themselves. That's a pretty standard Met reaction. So I don't. They can go fuck themselves. So good for them. Happy for them. Happy for their fans. Not really. Mm-hmm. I'm making all that up.
I'm kind of happy because Harper left.
Yeah, no. That's kind of cool. Harper's kind of a douche, so that little bit of satisfaction is nice. But as a Met fan, you just hate to see the National. That makes it worse for me as a Met fan, kind of, because it's like, damn it, they don't even have Bryce Harper, and they managed to win the division and go this year. Like, screw them. Mm-hmm. I am happy for Scherzer and Strasburg especially. Strasburg has been nasty this year, man. Like, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him. But the rest of the Nationals, he could suck a fatty.
And then on the other side, we got our man Todd Bono, the Cardinals.
Todd 13 Bono, runs. 13-run first inning.
Cardinal fan.
I pussed out of that game, man. I had an opportunity to get that, and I pussed out last minute. I was asked. People asked me, who do I like? And I said Cardinals, and I just pussed out. And that's what I get. First inning, just route all day. And it's going to be a fun playoff. It's a fun time, bro. MLB playoffs, NBA's about to start, NFL's in the midst of the season. Let's fucking go. Sign up at the Wise Take Nation. Sign up at the Wise Take motherfucking Nation. It is just the place to be. Joe, anything in closing before we get up out of here?
Before we get up out of here, guys, I'm going to be so generous this week. I want you guys to join the nation so much. I'm going to be releasing my Cash and FanDuel article for free this week. So if you're watching on YouTube, be looking for it sometime on Saturday night. Depends on the kids. Depends on what I got going on. But if you play FanDuel, be checking it out. I have cash game cores. I have GPP cores. I talk about the GPP games that I like to stack. And then I have your obvious cash game plays that we want to lock in to get you ready for week 6. So come join the nation. It's all fun. We'll win some money.
There you go. Joey hooking you guys up. The FanDuel article. Joey does the FanDuel breakdown for NFL. Paulie does the DraftKings. I do, a little core article. But, Joey's going to give his for free. So if you play FanDuel or even if you play DraftKings, you just still fucking read it. It's free. You get a little taste of some of the stuff we offer. Again, we have a live stream. We've got a Slack chat for monthly members or higher, which is awesome. And where we talk to our members and our other analysts and really break down slates together. And then, of course, you get the cheat sheets from Cam. We got a lot, but we're gonna give you a little taste. Joey's gonna put out his article for free this weekend, so make sure you come check it out. No excuses, it's free. Don't be an ass. For Patio Joe, for myself, the entire Wise Take Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.